I never know what he's doing. Never know what he's doing there. Certainly going live here on this show. It
Exposed.
is, of course, the one and only Cecil Lammey, Sigmund Bloom, Dr. Jene Bramel. It is the Waiver Wire Show. We're comfortable. Get comfy with us. I already finished my coffee, so I'm on to the water, Bloom. No tequila yet this morning with the snow coming down in Colorado. The snow may be coming down on your fantasy season, but we're here to be the snowplows, I guess. I don't know. Some segues are better than others, but we're here. That's what matters. And we are here for you on this condensed Thanksgiving week. And of course, when we talk about the waiver wire special, that means Dr. Jene Bramel gets to kick us off this morning with a discussion about injured quarterbacks. And Dr. Jene, what are we looking at this week? It's upgrades, downgrades, and waiver wire report presented by footballguys.com, written by Sigmund Bloom and Jared Goff. I'll shake his hand, Bloom.
Yeah.
He's there. 15 to 30%, and Taysom Hill 20 to 40%, Derek Carr 15 to 30%. So one of these is not like the others. One of these just lost his tight end designation on ESPN anyway. I'm not sure about Yahoo. I don't play on Yahoo, but anyway, it's the greatest product ever, but like whatever. But Taysom Hill's the one we got to talk about. Going up against Broncos defense this week, you know, being forced and talking to people around the team, Bloom. Sean Payton did go out of his way. That was an emphasis. Your intuition served you well in the recap show, because I was told, like, yeah, he wanted to prove, because Sean Payton's got an ego.
Yeah.
You know, and these are people that are around him all the time that are saying that, like, yeah, he wanted to prove that. He wanted to just show everybody, like, this is my guy. So we've got the others to talk about, to be sure, but Taysom's the interesting one, the new one, and the exciting one.
He is, because of that Konami code, Hey Retriebar, added upside for running quarterbacks, and he played disciplined. It's easy to know who watched the Saints-Falcons game and who didn't, because he wasn't running the Wildcat. He wasn't running a running quarterback offense. Now, granted, it's the Falcons, and it was easy-ish. It wasn't like his downfield passing was great. He wasn't dissecting them, but he was credible. And then when you add a credible passer, dare I say he's like more credible than Tim Tebow was as a passer.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And then you have more tactical advantage to the running ability when it is used by design, but it was barely used by design at all. We'll see what Vic Fangio has up his sleeve this weekend, but it's exciting. Taysom Hill, in a good performance, is an elite fantasy quarterback, as we saw, and he's going to be the starter, the unquestioned starter. Then you have Goff and Carr. With Goff, what you like about Goff is that this Tampa team that he disposed of last night was the last team that was a scary team in terms of pressure. Because when we saw Miami really unmask him, you thought, is this going to be something where Sean McVay is going to have to evolve mid-season? But now you look at the rest of the schedule for the Rams: San Francisco, Arizona, New England, the Jets, and Seattle. There's nobody that's that scary there. And that offense is really clicking the pass offense, at least. And then likewise with Derek Carr, you've got Atlanta, the Jets, Indianapolis, the Chargers, and Miami. So maybe not so much in the fantasy playoffs, but at least for the next couple of weeks, Atlanta and the Jets. You can't ask for better matchups for Derek Carr. And they didn't lose the game on Sunday night because of Carr. Carr was up to the task. It was a great back and forth game. I think the highest rated game of the year since week one, and it certainly lived up to billing. Maybe if we're lucky, we'll get a Chiefs-Raiders rematch at some point in the playoffs, because those two teams match up very well. Carr is playing well, and there still help the churn of quarterbacks on the waiver wire, but Taysom Hill absolutely leads that.
Taysom Hill is that guy, and you're like, well, I can't get him because Cecil drafted him in Fessel OG and has been sitting on him all this time. I didn't even know that, Bloom. I forgot. I looked, I was like, wait, I got Taysom Hill? Oh, right. But I got Aaron Rodgers and Pat Mahomes, so I'll never start him. And you couldn't start him as a tight end in MFL. My fantasy
Goddard is undefeated.
I know, dude. He's
undefeated. Andrew Goddard, shout out.
I thought you would take him down, didn't you? Or was it Matt?
I had him this week, and I was ahead through like the 1:00 games, and he just blasted through me in the second half.
Yeah, unstoppable juggernaut in Fessel OG. So we'll see what happens there. Phillip Rivers, you're looking what happens with him. And okay, did Michael Pittman like energize him in this passing game? Sure, 10 to 20% for him. Let's throw in Kirk Cousins and Andy Dalton too. Dalton's return with Gallagher. I mean, Mike McCarthy. Firing up the team, smashing watermelons. Let's get this slip and slide on us, guys. We don't want to get melon squishings on us.
No, put up your plastic. We told you to bring plastic, right? Bring plastic to your Cowboys games. Rivers, he's playing well. And after all of the ups and downs so far this year for the Colts, I think it's actually working out now that because they have Rivers, it gives them an added element where they feel like they have a veteran quarterback, veteran leadership when they get into these close back and forth games. Why you might like Rivers going forward is Tennessee again this week. He had an excellent game against Tennessee 2 weeks ago. He still gets Houston, Vegas, Houston. So the Texans are one of the defenses that Cam Newton threw for 360 against them. We're going to target the Texans really with offense, pass offense, and rush offense. So Phillip Rivers, and again, rock blocking. For those of you, of course, we still keep doing the waiver wire show just like we do at Football Guys. I mean, we're bringing in 100% for the rest of the season. Even though maybe not all of you are in the fantasy playoffs or all of you need this advice. Likewise with the waiver wire show, it's just an excuse to spend time together. We're still in our robes and comfortable around the fire, watching the snow fall. No snow in New Orleans. Watching the alligators sun by the bayou, but was more like it. But we're like two alligators, Cease, just hanging out. And we enjoy hanging out with each other and hanging out with all of y'all. But if your waiver wire is still open, rock blocking. It's still one of the best uses you can make with the dollars you have left or the moves you have left. Phillip Rivers could get hot against that schedule. Kirk Cousins is hot. Kirk Cousins leads the league in yards per attempt and yards per completion. I think it would have taken more than one guess for most people to get Kirk Cousins if we were asking that question. Right. Highly efficient. Now, since last week's game, Adam Thielen's been put on the COVID list. So if Thielen's not ready for the game against the Panthers, that takes some of the shine off of Kirk Cousins. But he's doing it often with 25, 30 attempts because he's so highly efficient. And then you look ahead at the Minnesota schedule, Jacksonville, Tampa, and they then finish with Chicago and New Orleans. But there's some help there. And then there's Andy Dalton. Since they moved Zach Martin to right tackle, Cowboys look like a credible offensive line and a credible offense, and Andy Dalton can harvest some of the value that he has in those receivers, in those running backs, and this offense is looking good. We'll get to watch them on Thanksgiving. They get Baltimore the following week, and then Cincinnati, San Francisco, Philadelphia. So, these are all viable plays as we look forward and we see the direction these offenses are going.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. By the way, that offense for Kirk Cousins, when you run the ball like that,
right?
Play action passing, it's downfield passing. It's just science. Let's talk about the 1%ers. PJ Walker, maybe. We're watching Teddy Bridgewater's status. He was close. He was close a few times. And then Bridgewater was shut down. He's back this week, maybe. So Walker out there showed, he could run the team at least, and former XFL stars worth the 1%er. Ryan Finley. I didn't want to talk about Joe Burrow today, Blue, but Ryan Finley. Yeah. Okay. 1%er. Woo. And then Joe Flacco, 1%er. Actually, Bloom, some people may think, why isn't Flacco a little higher?
Well, Joe Flacco. He didn't do as much as expected again. Yeah. We'll see. He gets Miami this week. Remember, Miami shut out the Jets in the first matchup. They didn't have Joe Flacco in that matchup, though. I'm not really that excited to play Joe Flacco. But he's a starting quarterback, and certainly in those two quarterback superflex leagues, if we were waiting until after the bye to see if he was going to play, I'm sorry, I was wrong. He was the quarterback in the matchup. My brain told me you're not right when you said they don't have Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco in that game, 186 interception first time around against Miami. So you're not necessarily looking at Flacco to get out of the gate hot. And I suppose with PJ Walker, we could say PJ Walker or Teddy Bridgewater if Bridgewater was dropped, because Carolina quarterback, and we're seeing those three receivers making this pass offense very viable. They're going up against Minnesota this week, so that is a good one for sure. And then Ryan Finley. And all I'll say about Ryan Finley and the Bengals is this, Cease. I don't know if you saw the piece. Well, I know because you are in the bunker until we record this show because you spent hours prepping for the waiver wire show, so you probably didn't see it this morning, that there was an article that is going public about some toxic culture in the Bengals behind the scenes with different coaches, offensive line coach, defensive coordinator, and we'll see. Maybe all of this just exposes how bad the Bengals were and that Joe Burrow was the only thing keeping them afloat. And it gives the impetus for Joe Brady to be hired because that's the move everyone's making. That's the natural, logical move.
Yep.
Go full Burrow. Make it basically the Cincinnati Burrows. And bring in Joe Brady, who's going to be one of the hottest candidates. You would think that's something that you can dangle. They're going to be able to have a top 5 pick this year. They certainly have some pieces on both sides of the ball to build around. They're in a good situation as far as the cap. It should be a situation that is an attractive one for a head coach, especially one like Joe Brady, where Brady and Burrow vaulted each other at one level of football. Maybe they can do it again. Meanwhile, Ryan Finley gets the Giants this week. So a team that probably the fans wish that they were going to go for another reboot, but they're not doing it yet.
Not yet. Not so fast, Cahotek. Let's get to the running back position, which means Dr. Jene Bramel joins us once again to go over the injured RBs in Week 12. Okay, Bloom, a healthier list here at running back into 50-plus percenters, although COVID... With J.K. What's it going to be? Gus Edwards on Thursday against the Steelers?
Justice Hill.
Dobbins and Mark
I
Ingram.
demand justice.
All right. Yeah. Finally, he'll maybe do something. Maybe. But Dobbins, 50+%. Jonathan Taylor, 50+%. Gus Edwards. Let's throw him in because it has to be in the Dobbins conversation, even though he's 20 to 40%. We'll save the rest of the 20 to 40%ers.
Sure.
But that Ravens situation, and then Jonathan Taylor as the chat room firing up, being like, we ever going to know when to start Nyheim Hines? Yeah. Well, do we know now we can start Jonathan Taylor with confidence?
The confidence. Check back like a series into the game, Cease, on the confidence. You can start him with tentative confidence, but he was running well against the Packers. Not that that's an exclusive club. This team ran well against the Titans in the first game, but it was Nyheim Hines. Hines did have a touchdown wiped off of the board by penalty, by the way, or we wouldn't be saying, oh, when are we going to start Nyheim Hines? He also had a good 2-point conversion. So with Jonathan Taylor, confidence is back. And the team had confidence in him down the stretch. He had a long touchdown wiped off the board by penalty. Lots of holding penalties in that game for the Colts that would have iced the game and would have made him a big fantasy success in a week when almost nobody was starting him. Again, Texans left twice on the schedule. Clyde Hiller just had 2 touchdowns, first time this year. That was against the Raiders. That's who the Colts get in week 15. So things looking up for Taylor, things looking up for the Colts, things looking up for J.K. Dobbins. And see, this is why it's sometimes so frustrating, but sometimes so gratifying to do what we do because we're banging our head against this, watching J.K. Dobbins clearly have the most to offer of any Ravens running back, and every week getting like 5 touches, getting maybe a third of the snaps. Finally, J.K. Dobbins is the lead back. He looks good. Now he's on the COVID list. If he was dropped after the weeks of disappointment, he's still worth picking up. I think that what's interesting here is the Ravens turn around and play on another Thursday. I thank you, Minion Hunter, for pointing this out because, I'm always looking ahead. There's so much. We're trying to get everything done on time for week 12 with the shorter deadline. But so the Ravens are going to turn around and play on another Thursday. So it's possible that Dobbins is going to miss 2 games on the COVID list. And really, because of the nature of COVID. And let me take a moment out to say, by the way, because I hate even falling into this, Cease. Because immediately, how many different COVID cases have we had for players now during the season, Cease? Like 70, 80, 100, 100, I don't even know. And I think if we would have talked about this back in June or July, we would have said, well, anytime we hear a player's COVID positive, our first reaction would be like, whoa, I hope his family's okay. I hope he's okay. I hope he makes it through this. And we've just had such a barrage of this that now we're becoming desensitized to it. There was another player who just I don't know if it's related to COVID or not. They haven't confirmed it one way or the other, who has the myocarditis, or if I'm saying that right, myocarditis, whatever, the inflammation of the heart. So, hopefully with Dobbins and Ingram, I mean, this isn't like something like we know a timeline to return. So I don't want to get too presumptuous. Then we look at the fantasy implications. So first and foremost, hopefully this is just a non-issue, as it has been for most of the players this year. But Edwards could get 2 starts. Edwards could get more than 2 starts.
Right.
And
he can handle it.
He can definitely handle it. Now, he doesn't give them a lot of versatility in the running game. You're going to run him basically up the gut. But certainly this week, I think the Steelers are going to be obsessed with Lamar Jackson. I think the Steelers' game plan is like anybody but Lamar Jackson beating us as a runner. And then you go forward a week. If he gets to start against Dallas, and we're looking at our chops, maybe the Thanksgiving leftovers don't last that long, but they're still salivating for Dallas on a Thursday next week. So certainly Gus Edwards can be someone that helps us. And I suppose I should have added Justice Hill as a 1%er, as we're keeping hope alive for him. Also, Matt Waldman favorite Tyson Williams, BYU, is on the practice squad. So, in this Matt Waldman favorites, when opportunity knocks, we'll pay attention there. But an adjustment for the Ravens, I think as of right now, Brandon Williams was a close contact. Their nose tackle, so that helps the Steelers running game. Otherwise, no other close contacts. We'll be watching that as we head into Thursday. But the Ravens running back situation ceased. Just when it seems settled, here's COVID.
Yeah, here we go again. And, you opened up a can of worms, Bloom. So do you want to continue opening it or no?
Again, there's some people here that we want to help with our waiver wire advice, and we've got it, of course, with waiver wire up down at Football Guys. But
I just want to hang out with everybody.
Yeah, we're spending time together and just being human beings together, because that's what we're good at.
Right. Well, there's a couple of ways to look at this. One, someone gets on the COVID list and people are desensitized to it because you think, okay, is the test actually
right?
Is the test
We've had a lot of false positives.
A lot of false positives. Okay, so that's one way people look at it. The other way is, well, it's 99% survival rate, which shows the insensitivity, Bloom, because it's like, well, sometimes it's not just about, well, it doesn't kill you, so yeah, but it can mess you up. And people affect it differently. So there we go. Let's move on from that and go to 20 to 40% from Carlos Hyde and Latavius Murray and James White. We'll save the rest of those middle section, but we've got a lot to talk about when it comes to what's going on in Seattle, what's going on in New Orleans, and then New England situation. Of course, with Rex Burkhead going down, James White getting more work.
So 3 different flavors here. And the hits if you listen to the Waiver Wire show, even for the last few weeks. Certainly if you listen to the show every year, you know that once we hit about week 10, we really focus on the backup running backs. Backup running backs can make or break your season, or again, you don't want them to be available for everybody else. Let's go through these 3. Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde looked good. Didn't get hurt. Seattle, we're watching Seattle morph into a team that has a running game, that has a defense even. Whoa. Seattle against Philadelphia this week. Philadelphia's defense actually rose to the occasion against Cleveland's running game, but Chris Carson is supposed to play. How many weeks running now are we on that season? Chris Carson might play. Chris Carson's a game time decision. So now he's expected to return, depending on who you ask. They do have a 10-day rest period, or 11. Are they playing on Monday night? I'll believe it when I see it. And Chris Carson could take the field, be like, ooh, ouchie, my foot. And now we're back to Carlos Hyde again. So Carlos Hyde has that potential starter value for this week, maybe going forward, and he's a high-value backup running back. James White, this is another one, Cease. And again, I want to say this because I came up again on the telecast last night that football is a game of relationships. It's all about relationships. And when Rex Burkhead went down, I encourage folks to look at some of the comments from the Patriots. They love Rex Burkhead. And that's not a given. I mean, there's a lot of intense connections between players in a locker room, but there are just certain players that everybody loves. They're the heart of the team. And the Rex Burkhead's one of those guys. So we mourn Rex Burkhead as he was playing about the best football of his entire career going into the game he got hurt. Now James White is your primary receiving back. And for PPR leagues, that's a cheap running back too. So he's not necessarily going to be a league winner, week winner like Latavius Murray might be, but he's going to help your team. And then you have Latavius Murray. Latavius Murray got half of the snaps. Latavius Murray, I believe, got more touches, more carries. He got the 2 receptions to Alvin Kamara, getting 0 receptions. That's a whole other story, by the way, speaking of league winners, that if you have Alvin Kamara now with Taysom Hill, you're like, what do I have? Also, Alvin Kamara has that foot issue. So it just makes sense for the Saints to continue with this approach, because the Saints, if they have a game against Kansas City, but they basically have a 1.5 game lead, I think, or if they win the games they're supposed to win, they should be the number 1 seed. So they're thinking further down the line, which means why are you pushing it with Kamara? It's Murray. I mean, this is why you have Latavius Murray. This is why you gave Murray that 4-year, $14 million contract when Ingram went to Baltimore. So this could be a case where it isn't just if Kamara's foot lets go, which we pray doesn't happen, but Murray might have some standalone value anyway. And it would just make sense, too, much in the same way that Gus Edwards and Mark Ingram can attack as those shortest line between point A and B downhill runs. Well, when you start using Taysom Hill as a designed runner more often, that's Latavius Murray's music, just getting straight downhill, banging behind a great offensive line. So Latavius Murray probably has more value than you think.
Is he the last player from the last Texas Nation game still in the league? He'll be close.
I think so.
What's the quarterback? What's the it wasn't Baylor quarterback. That was the Tulane quarterback that was at that game.
The only name that's popping into my head from that game, Cecil, we were watching indoors, I think is Ken Burrell Tompkins.
Love that guy.
Yeah.
Ryan Griffin. Ryan Griffin's
Ryan Griffin.
Yeah,
right.
Ryan Griffin. Yep.
And they can play in that stadium in Allen, right? Like they uncondemned it.
Yes, they uncondemned it.
The $60 million high school stadium. Texas, everybody. Texas.
That's Texas, everybody. Denver, everybody. It's a Broncos show. And did they unlock the magic formula for running the ball? It's my latest at 1043thefan.com. It's also on your waiver wire, 15 to 30% for both Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay. We know they're not going to throw the ball to Phillip Lindsay. We know that Gordon's going to get the goal line work. But Lindsay's that big play specialist. We've seen this team maybe finally find the way to use them after almost 20 passing attempts, 19 attempts in the first half. It was only 11 passing attempts in the second half, and Drew Lock went 10 of 11. Why? Because they ran the hell out of the ball, and they actually won. They beat a quality team in Miami. That's to be sure. So Gordon, Lindsay, and let's throw in Jamal Williams in this section as well.
Yeah, Gordon and Lindsay, we'll see if Gordon almost fumbling away the game changes the approach to how the workload's divvied up. It won't, but you never know. Do they have an identity on offense? Now, the next 2 games are against New Orleans and Kansas City, so they might not really be able to get the running game going in those games. But Carolina, Buffalo, and the Chargers, at least the Carolina and Buffalo games, these are games. And we see reliably that this Broncos team, they're not the Lions. They're not going to pack it up. So there's value there. Lindsay's, you listen to the show, Lindsay's been running the ball well all year. Gordon actually looked better than he has for a while and got those 2 touchdowns. Could have had 3 if he didn't fumble at the 1-yard line. So there's some potential value there. And Jamal Williams lead us into, with the exception of Frank Gore, the backup running back section of the waiver wire running backs. And Jamal Williams did get a touchdown reception. And he's a desperation play in every given week because of his involvement in the offense. I've already seen if Aaron Jones misses time, Jamal Williams is an automatic running back 1. So that makes him not quite ahead of Latavius Murray, but ahead of the rest of the backup running backs, which we will get to now.
Yes, which include Le'Veon Bell. Okay, they're actually going to use him. 10 to 20% for him and Alexander Madison and Tony Pollard, these names that we've talked about. Hell, let's throw in Devontae Booker in this section as well. And that next little chunk has some value for you.
Yeah, these are our preferred backups behind the most obvious guys, Murray and Jamal Williams. Le'Veon Bell, and Le'Veon Bell's kind of lost a step too. I will say, as a Steelers fan, he's watching Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown in these primetime games this week. They're still good players. They're still useful players. But the Steelers did part ways with them at the end of their peak. And you're not missing peak Antonio Brown. You're not missing peak Le'Veon Bell. But you don't need to be a peak player to have fantasy value in the backfield for the Chiefs. Again, if Edwards-Helaire goes down, you've got great value there. But even if he doesn't, Bell showed, hey, he can get a touchdown. He can be involved in this offense. Alexander Mattison, I just get this feeling watching Dalvin Cook and how little regard he has for his body. We talked about this in the recap show, that maybe we will see Alexander Mattison and see once a game. There's a play where Dalvin Cook is slow to get up, and immediately we're like, oh, God, oh, no. He's holding something. Yeah. So it's absolutely a moment where you think, is this the Alexander Mattison moment? Now, unlike a Jamal Williams, unlike a Latavius Murray, Madison hasn't yet shown that if Cook misses time, he's going to be an automatic fantasy play, but we may get a chance to see Tony Pollard be an automatic fantasy play if Ezekiel Elliott goes out. But Elliott looks good again after having that hamstring going into the bye. But Pollard looks good. So like Bell, like Jamal Williams, like Latavius Murray, there might be some standalone value there. Devontae Booker's had some standalone value already. Now, Las Vegas has somewhat tough Atlanta run defense this week, but get the Jets next week, so that could be a Devontae Booker week. And then, much like Dalvin Cook, Josh Jacobs just has no regard for his body whatsoever, and John Gruden has no regard for Josh Jacobs' body either.
No,
so
Cadillac Williams will tell you that.
Right. So this is one of those situations where Devontae Booker. We're always saying, "What's the story? Can this happen?" Certainly, it wouldn't be shocking to see Devontae Booker, who's looking good. He's got that bounce that Philip Lindsay's going to get whenever he's on his next team, and it's good to see Booker having some success, and he may have some success for our fantasy teams yet.
When Lindsay's with the Chiefs next year, you'll see that. Let's talk about Frank Gore, Bloom, 5 to 10%ers. We'll throw in Benny Snell and Boston Scott. I'm going to throw in Ty Johnson and Josh Adams as like half percenters because LaMichael Pirine now has a high ankle sprain. So if Joe Flacco's throwing the ball well, distributing it down the field, there'll be open rushing lanes. Josh Adams, to me, Bloom, even though he's on their practice squad and he's technically behind Ty Johnson, he's always reminded me of Gus Edwards. And we have a lot of praise for Gus Edwards and what he can do. Well, Josh Adams could do that. And maybe will, or, how much more can Frank Gore take on? Because they were talking about more LaMichael Pirine. Well, now he's got a high ankle sprain. So, okay, Gore, Snell, Scott. I'll throw in some love for the Jets' backups, Ty Johnson and Josh Adams. But some interesting situations to go over.
Gore scored his first touchdown last week. It's great. It's really great, Cease. We're going to have some ceremonial thing. And really, it's possible now, by the way. I don't care about these kind of debates, right? Where Frank Gore's a compiler. He shouldn't go in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, my God.
Well, whatever your argument is against Frank Gore in the Hall of Fame, I hope that he's remembered for just an indomitable spirit and an archetype that he is, and that the true love of the game, that's Frank Gore, the love of the game, and he's going to be the starter. You mentioned Josh Adams, so I'll just go ahead and add him in there. Ty Johnson, a little more of a speed back. We saw him get an opportunity. Josh Adams, who didn't look all that impressive to me in his last year at Notre Dame, and showed when he got on the field for Philadelphia more burst than I expected, and he's got that north-south running style. Could work. So I think you're right to bring him up, as we'll see if someone else gets sprinkled in there. And then we get to the bottom tier backups. And I tried to only use, not to be too exhaustive, but backups that we know are basically the primary backup. Now, with Benny Snell, I still think you would probably see Jalen Samuels and Anthony McFarland worked in. With McFarland, he just needs more time. It's kind of like Kalen Ballage in his rookie year, where the brain and the body just aren't in sync with Anthony McFarland. So I'm not as worried about McFarland, although Benny Snell is just a mop-up duty guy at this point. But he is getting the goal line carries. And we have to remember that James Conner isn't known for his durability. Miles Sanders, the main reason that Boston Scott is listed here is because he had a 56-yard touchdown run a couple weeks ago. He's clearly the primary backup. It's not Corey Clement. He's clearly the primary backup to Miles Sanders. So we'll see what happens with the first place Eagles and another Matt Waldman favorite there, Boston Scott, hanging around.
Hanging around. That's what we do. Sitting in our robes, hanging out with you, talking about football. Dr. Jene Bramel will join us once again. And why? Of course, to go over the wide receivers this week. Dr. Jene, who and what and how much are we looking at? Okay, Bloom, we had a healthy list of running backs. Not really a wide receiver. But Michael Pittman, certainly deserving of his own segment, and got that my ball mentality, got that size, the strength, the connection. You want to say Malcolm Floyd, you want to say Vincent Jackson, whatever. He's earned the trust of Phillip Rivers 3 weeks in a row, has had fantasy relevance. Hell, you'll be lucky if he's on your waiver wire at 50+%.
We just mentioned it. And again, mentioned it's the crossing routes, and that's a route that for Phillip Rivers, and then Cease. We can talk about, sometimes we're watching the game, love of my life, Kate and I watching the Brady last night against the Rams. And it's a new thing now. I mean, as it was, like we say, Cease, you always need a villain, but especially with New Orleans and all the Saints implications, Brady is an extra large villain. And sometimes you see that the years catch up with these quarterbacks, but at the same time, what you have with these older quarterbacks, and we've seen it, Peyton Manning in his last Super Bowl year with the Broncos, where you've run thousands and thousands of plays, and there are certain things that are just second nature. And I think with Phillip Rivers, it's those crossing routes, and he did them very well with Keenan Allen, with the Chargers, and now he's got it with Michael Pittman. And what you're seeing with Michael Pittman is that easy pull away acceleration now twice on these crossing routes. So it's all in sync, and he's going to face the Titans, who had no answer for him 2 weeks ago. So I do think that there's something good brewing here that defenses are going to have to prioritize taking away from this offense, because now if Paris Campbell could just stay healthy, Pittman, Campbell, they've got quite a combo for the future for the Colts, even though their quarterback might be just for the present.
Yeah, and whoever the quarterback is, we'll figure it out later. It's Emmanuel Sanders at 15 to 30% if he's out there. Hell, let's throw in Demarcus Robinson 10 to 20%. By the way, just want to remind everyone, it's an Emmanuel Sanders revenge game. So if Devontae Booker had 2 touchdowns against the Broncos, gonna do E. And again, Sean Payton with that ego will force it. And by the way, and again, talking to people around the building, Bloom, Peyton is the type of coach that will listen to his players. If a player like Sanders, let's just say Sanders went to Peyton and said, I hate these blankety blankers. I hate John Elway. Get me the rock. Peyton would respond. So keep that in mind.
And keep in mind that Emmanuel Sanders caught that arm punt. Thanks, Scott Hansen, for that. And he caught a long touchdown from Taysom Hill that was called back by penalty. So he's that deep threat. And it just makes sense that against Taysom Hill, the deep ball is going to be there because you're going to try to crowd the box against his ability to run the ball. DeMarcus Robinson, and what's going to be fascinating about Robinson, too, is the free agency decision, as the Chiefs brought him back on a pretty cheap deal this year. But he's a mainstay in this offense. And I suppose what he's showing is the value to a coach of a player that just knows the offense and is going to play assignment football and be where he's supposed to be and do what he's supposed to do, unlike, say, McCole Hardman, who offers a lot more than Robinson, but maybe frustrates his teammates and coaches at times.
Well, and we'll go back to when Alex Smith was still with the Chiefs and Pat Mahomes was working as the number 2. His favorite guy was DeMarcus Robinson.
Yeah.
Those kind of connections don't go away.
No, and with Sammy Watkins hurt, I won't say McCole Hardman's in the doghouse. Coming back off of the COVID list, I think a day before the game, maybe they just wanted to ease him back in. But DeMarcus Robinson can be a core part of this offense down the stretch. Tampa Bay this week also. Do you see how easy it was for Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods to get open against Tampa Bay? So it could be DeMarcus Robinson, one of those guys you remember last year he had like a 6 for 170 and 2 touchdown kind of game. So DeMarcus Robinson could be that guy. And also, of course, because I'm skewed by my own psychology, McCole Hardman would probably be even a higher priority than Robinson because of the deep ball prowess that he has, the speed that he has. But definitely any part of the Chiefs. Byron Pringle maybe would have made the waiver wire report this week, but he got hurt in the previous game. So that's another reason that you're looking at these Chiefs receivers. That target tree is narrowing for them. And at this point, the Chiefs offense is definitely one of those shelters for us. You know, if you played Clyde Edwards-Helaire just because he was a Chief, that worked out for you, and that's probably good logic going forward.
5 to 10% are Nelson Aguilar, and then some speed guys with Damiere Byrd and Darnell Mooney as 5 to 10% section. Yeah, this is what we got.
This is the, hey, they might catch a long touchdown section. You know,
right.
You put Nelson and see. I'll say this, and this is definitely not something that we would have anticipated. I got a question this morning, and I was able to answer it definitively. If you could only have one of Nelson Aguilar or Henry Ruggs right now.
Oh, it's Aguilar.
It's Aguilar. Yeah. I mean, you just go with the trailing. I mean, at the beginning of the season, or even say 5 or 6 weeks into the season, it would have been Ruggs. You wouldn't have even paused to think about it. But it's Aguilar who's hot right now. Aguilar who's playing more snaps than any other receiver. And Aguilar, who's got a chance to get that deep ball against Atlanta this week. Darnell Mooney, it's just a question if Chicago can get this figured out on offense. Who's going to start? I guess suppose we could go back to the quarterback section and say Mitchell Trubisky, 1%, because they won't name a starter, or Tyler Bray. I don't even know. I don't think you really want that. But if Chicago can somehow get this figured out, you have Detroit, Houston, Minnesota, Jacksonville left on the schedule for Darnell Mooney, who has the talent to be a big, deep threat in the NFL now, certainly in the future, if they can get a quarterback. Damiere Byrd has his quarterback from his time with Carolina, Cam Newton, and he caught a long touchdown last week and was an excellent downfield threat against Houston. So maybe the takeaway there is against Houston, except when it's the Lions on Thanksgiving. We're not going to trust the Lions in any way, shape, or form except to be bad going forward. But Damiere Byrd goes up against Arizona this week. He's starting to come through. First touchdown as a Patriot. He could come through for us again.
I feel like Pavlov's dogs when you say Tyler Bray, Bloom, because it always brings up my mind. He's the dumbest quarterback ever. He's the dumbest player I've ever talked to. He reminds me of the guy in that one movie who's got the no regrets tattoo, like right here. I talked to Tyler Bray at the combine. It was just like, wow, there's nothing up there. Like nothing.
Yeah.
And there's some dummies in this league, and even dummies at quarterback. I've said too much, Bloom.
Somewhere Tyler Bray is like, Cecil Lammey is the smartest football reporter I've ever talked to.
He would be wrong. Russell Gage is a 1%er, and he's about it. You know, there's 1%ers, right? Oh, hell, throw him out there. But with Julio Jones banged up, Russell Gage could do more. If he's out there, pick him up.
Yeah, and we'll watch this because when Jones has been out and they could game plan for it, Olamide Zacchaeus had better games. But after Jones was out for most of the game, came back in at the end, Russell Gage actually racked up those catches. We know it won't be Haydenhurst. So in PPR leagues, he could be a cheap out for you.
And there we have it. Dr. Jene Bramel to talk about the injured tight ends entering week 12. Dr. Jene, what are we looking at this week? Okay, Bloom, more tight ends than wide receivers, it looks like. At least it feels like. They're all clustered up. But Dallas Goddard's at the top at 25 to 50%. Don't worry that Zach Ertz is back. It doesn't do anything. Goddard, if he's out there, is worth spending a bit on.
Yeah, he may still be out there just because of how he hadn't done anything yet since returning for fantasy. He did have a garbage time touchdown, but certainly it's rough out there at tight end. And going against Seattle, you have to like Goddard's chances as being a primary receiver for Carson Wentz as he tries to stop the talk of how much, again, 60 what million we trade him cap hit because it's that bad right now around the Eagles. The first place Eagles, I feel like I have to say that every time.
Robert Tunyon's a 15 to 30%er. I always got to say Tunyon, so I get it right. Jordan Akins there, always with that talent. Interesting, Kahali Warring got activated. So, you know, my deep dynasty stash of the San Diego State Aztec player. I'm like, yeah, but he's got to deal with Jordan Akins, who's just better than he is. But Akins is out there as a 15 to 30%.
So Tunyon, you saw get that easy touchdown and some short receptions. You get to hook on to Aaron Rodgers. He had been cold. Really, he had been not very reliable when Devontae Adams was out there. That he had a good game with Devontae Adams out there gives you a little more hope plugging him in the lineup as your tight end going against the Bears this week. Jordan Akins, we've seen this back and forth. And like you said, Waring is coming on. Water polo, everybody. That could complicate these things, but you can just see that Akins has got some juice. This is why they took him in the third round. For a tight end, he's got some vertical speed. He's got some ability to threaten downfield. Desean Watson, I mean, we've seen a lot of great football from Desean Watson. Might have been the best game of his career last week. It really might have been. I mean, he was playing like, and it should make you feel good as a Texan, first and second round pick. What would you rather have, Desean Watson or a first and second round pick next year? I think you'd rather have Desean Watson. It's something to build around. And Jordan Akins may be showing that he can emerge out of this tight end group. This week, going against the Lions on Thanksgiving, look at it this way. Pick up Jordan Akins because it gives you a reason to watch that early game.
To watch the early game and to watch other games, including 10 to 20% for Jimmy Graham. And Jordan Reed and Dalton Schultz are both 5 to 10%ers as we move down the list.
So if you are needing a tight end and Jimmy Graham was dropped, remember he had a goose egg going into the bye. Again, there's that Chicago schedule that at least theoretically should be successful with the pass if they can have a competent quarterback. Moving down to 5 to 10%. Jordan Reed should be the primary receiving tight end over Ross Dwelley for San Francisco. Going up against the Rams this week could be a tough draw, although actually San Francisco had a lot of success with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback in the first matchup. And then we have Dalton Schultz, and he just keeps producing. Actually, over the last month, he's been a tight end one, again, through all the quarterback troubles. Now this offense is coming on. Also, again, something to watch on Thanksgiving. Hey, we talk about fantasy football. Like, you want to win, you want to be the best, you want to score the most points, but it also keeps you in the game, and something to celebrate maybe if Dalton Schultz can score against Washington, and you could do a lot worse at tight end.
Rounding out to the tight ends with 1%ers, which include Cameron Breit, Anthony Fercer, and there's Richard Rodgers. And when he scores a touchdown, it's like the defense forgets about him because everybody forgets about Richard Rodgers.
Right. Eligible receiver. He's actually been, again, like Dalton Schultz, surprisingly, over the last month, one of the better fantasy tight ends out there. With Anthony Fercer, who's a solid tight end. I wouldn't be surprised, Cecil, if we're talking about, like, here's a preview of our snorkel, scuba, submarine shows. Anthony Fercer looks like the kind of guy who's going to start somewhere on his second team. And if Johnny Smith is out, that ankle injury, he went back into the game, but lots of times players can come back into the game with the adrenaline, and then later on in the week, it's a lot tougher for them to play through this injury. So if Anthony Fercer is the primary tight end against Indy, you've got something there for sure. Cameron Breit, you can really see that, and this is something that we could have anticipated, Cease, right? I mean, as much as Brady loves Gronkowski, Breit is a Brady-type receiver. He's just in sync, on time with his routes, sure-handed. And 2 weeks in a row now, Breit has caught more balls than Gronkowski. You look at this Kansas City game, I mean, not to jump ahead to our preview show, Cease, I just feel like Tampa's going to be interested in that game. But I also could see a lot of garbage time. Cameron Breit, what was Matt Waldman calling now, like sanitation engineers? Cameron Breit could be a pretty good sanitation engineer.
That's true. That is very true. Can he fix your internet? Light and sweet, baby. Light and sweet. It's all that matters, right? Yeah. Bloom. What is it? Cox Internet down there? Is that right?
Yeah, Cox. And there's a planned outage for tomorrow, so we might have like curtains like in the middle of a show. I don't know. The plan. It's great that it's a planned outage. They can tell you the day, but not the time.
Okay, I'm a moron. Why would they do a planned outage?
I mean, planned stuff? In the sense to fix something or other.
Okay.
It's New Orleans, and I love New Orleans, and I say this with nothing but love in my heart for New Orleans. But someone told me when I moved here that New Orleans makes more sense as the most organized city in the Caribbean than the least organized city in the United States.
All right, it is go time because, well, there's just parts of your team that you're like, I don't need that guy anymore. And it can be cathartic. I know it is the week of Thanksgiving, and we are all thankful for you. By the way, our Thanksgiving preview will come up a little bit after this show, so stay tuned for that. But There are just times when you need to scream it from the heavens. There are times when you just need to let it go. There are times when you are trapped in that glass case of emotion because of your fantasy football team. So I want everyone to join in with me. I'm going to scare the dog as I say, cue the chunk team! Shut him down.
Yeah, and Steve, I almost feel like Shut 'Em Down at this point is like that Academy Awards montage where they just show the pictures of the people who died and we clap and we go, oh, I want to just do that for Joe Burrow. I mean, you're shutting him down, but I just want to say, man, thanks for everything that you did for Bengals fans for this 2020 season, for entertainment purposes, and also just being the kind of football player who lays it all out there on the line. And I hope, this is fun for us, Shut Them Down and Hold On, but I really want to talk to Simon in the offseason about trying to find a way that we can locate these players and codify whether it's time to shut someone down or hold on, at least when you compare them to other players on the waiver wire. Because, for instance, Matthew Stafford, I mean, you're going to feel good about putting a check mark next to any Lion at any point for the rest of the year. This matchup against Houston, we'll see who's going to play. But if you're on the fence, if you're like, well, I can pick up Gus Edwards, but I have to drop Matthew Stafford. He's my backup quarterback. Drop Matthew Stafford. Shut him down. Tua Tagovailoa. Now, if at any point the offense is struggling, is he going to get pulled for Fitzpatrick as they're in the playoff hunt? Shut him down. Looking at running backs, Giovanni Bernard with Ryan Finley. If you picked up Adrian Peterson because of the Carolina matchup, looking ahead to the Houston matchup. Rex Burkhead again. Duke Johnson in short bench leagues. I'm not sure why I'm going to start him. Mark Ingram wasn't doing much anyway. Now he's on the COVID list. Michael P. Ryan, his injury. Wide receiver, again, you're looking at Marvin Jones. You're going to start any Lions. T. Higgins in a short bench league. So you ask yourself, you do this mental exercise. Am I going to want to start T. Higgins with Ryan Finley the rest of the way? On Ryan Finley, he did keep Tyler Boyd afloat in fantasy for 2 out of the 3 weeks he started last year, but that was with Joe Mixon. So defenses had to remain honest. We'll see about this year. Travis Fulgham. What a roller coaster ride it's been for Travis Fulgham in fantasy circles. But again, are you going to feel good about playing him? Similarly with Henry Ruggs. Similarly with Michael Gallup. Haydenhurst, I'm not sure if it's time to shut him down because if Julio Jones can play, then Haydenhurst has value again. So he's maybe a little more of a hold on. And Jared Cook, we're looking like a shut him down with Taysom Hill.
Ooh, all right. There's times when you just want to win a championship with somebody on your team. And it's stupid, and they will never know unless you tell them uncomfortably, which, by the way, players don't like that. You're like, I got you on my fantasy team.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Please let me eat. Anyway, so you may want to win a championship with this guy on your bench, or maybe you're just waiting, and we're waiting, Bloom, for those players to hold on to in week 12. Who are your week 12 hold-ons?
There ain't many.
No.
So I think if you do that, you should tell the player, make up a story like, because of you, I won the fantasy championship and my mom was able to get a kidney transplant or something like that. Then they'll like the story.
Right.
Then they'll like the story. Maybe it'll go viral. Maybe you'll get to like some swag from the team and get to visit them. Some of the hold-ons, I think Nyheim Hines is still a hold-on. Remember, he had a touchdown wiped off of the board against the Tennessee team that he lit up 2 weeks ago. Matt Ryan is probably a hold on because of the schedule to see if Julio Jones can get back on the field. Remember they're going to get Tampa and Kansas City the last 2 weeks of the year. Those could be good games for him. Kenny Golladay, probably a hold on for now as we see week to week what's going to happen there, despite our anti-Lions feelings right now. Tyler Boyd's a hold on because of what he did with Ryan Finley last year. And I mentioned Haydenhurst. It's fitting, right? It's fitting that the theme of the hold on section is maybe Julio Jones will be okay and play a little more this year and you'll still like your Falcons because that's Julio and how he's, again, this is a great moment for me to say, Cease, like AJ Brown and whatever it is that they're resting every Thursday. If we could flash into some of these players' bodies and feel what they play through and play at a high level through on Sundays, it would be shocking, and you'd have a whole new respect. I think Julio Jones and the hamstring issue he's dealing with is one of those things right now. So we hold on to Julio and hope we get to see him again this year.
Yeah, that's why when people are like, you get paid to play a kid's game. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, just sometimes, or oftentimes, it's because they're banged up. I'm holding on to Jerry Jeudy, Bloom, even though his quarterback never sees him. He's wide open all the time. Anyway, I love when Locke is just slightly below average, and people are like, he's fine. He got it.
New Orleans this is one of those situations where New Orleans this week is going to dismiss him with prejudice, and then so if you're rooting for them to turn the page, the Saints coming to town is a good thing to give them a nudge. Yeah,
Saints coming to town will definitely do that. What would help? More Jerry Jeudy. It's not happening, people. But it's happening with us. It's happening with you every week right here on the Waiver Wire special. Certainly love and appreciate all you guys. Again, we're going to come back with our Thanksgiving special in about an hour. Give us an hour. Bloom, I got to render the audio, get this thing going, get it up on iTunes or Apple Music or whatever it's called now, and Spotify. And thank you guys for listening. Tens of millions of downloads. Absolutely monumental. So we appreciate our audience. Appreciate you growing the YouTube channel. We hit 12,000 subscribers.
Woo.
Yeah. Our guy Devin Knotts jumped on for a little live chat to celebrate 12,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel. So thank you, Devin, and thank you guys for doing that, for listening to the show, for watching the show. Give us a thumbs up. Do all those YouTube things. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid, because it's all about recommendations with YouTube and that algorithm. So as long as we don't cuss, hopefully we'll be recommended. Although did we say coronavirus? Because we'll get dinged for that too, Bloom.
No. Yeah. I've got a song for you to do a lead in, by the way. After the show, I'll send it to you.
Okay. Skype flippered that over. So anyway, we don't even use Skype anymore. Oh, back in the days when it was Bucking Bronx. How many different iterations have we done this show? We've done this show. Let's count this down for the listeners. I can cut this out of the audio version. Yeah. But we did it on a cassette.
Yep.
Over a speakerphone.
Handset, yeah.
The very first show was that. I recorded it on a cassette, which some listeners are like, one, you guys are really old. Two, I don't know what that is.
Single.
Cuss what? And then I put it on CD. Then I put it on my computer. Then I put it in wherever. It was the cloud, technically. That was our very first show. We've done shows with Skype when Skype was a bucking bronco. When we do that, record it with Pamela when that was still a thing. Then Pamela stopped working, and I was like, I don't know. And then we did Blog Talk Radio, right? We did shows over that.
Google Hangouts.
We did Google Hangouts, right?
Which
very
became
good.
YouTube.
Which became that. And then that went away. Remember when that we were like, what do we do? And StreamYard came up. Thank God for StreamYard. This is such a great platform, by the way.
Yeah.
Because we're able to stream to all these different platforms at one time, one click with StreamYard. And yes, I do recommend that. And that's an unpaid endorsement, but it's worth it. I think it's like $25 a month. But anyway, and then there's a free version too. But anyway, so then we decided, okay, we want to build our YouTube channel. And we were a little slow to get to the YouTube side of things. And then now I just ripped the audio from the YouTube show.
And don't forget Zencaster.
Oh, crap. Yeah.
See, that's how many. There's so many that even when we list off like 8 of them, we still haven't got all of them.
Yeah, and Zencaster replaced Skype, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Zencaster a really good platform. I think I should cancel my subscription.
Yeah. The to-do list.
It's one of those, what's this $10 for?
Check your credit card statements and your subscription list, everybody.
That's how they get you. All right. But it's a great product. We just wanted to grow the YouTube channel and do these shows on YouTube. And plus, I think seeing the faces, Bloom, seeing our faces and then interacting with the chat room, it really does change the energy of a show. So anyway.
And little we know we were well ahead of the curve, because in the year 2020, this is how most of our human interactions would be. But we were already there waiting for you. Come on in. The water's fine.
Oh, I get so pissed from a radio side. Full disclosure, I'll tell the tale. I'll speak out of turn. I don't care. Like when we do something as hosts and like DMAC can't figure out like to turn his phone sideways, and he's got, just no lighting and everything. And it's like, people are like, you've got a studio with a light and a professional mic and sound dampening. And I'm like, yeah, it's 2020. How the hell do we have grown men like Mike Evans doesn't even know how to like use? What do you mean Zoom? Is this thing on? Like,
It's your job.
Don't wag the dog. Anyway, that's a wrap, Joe. Hey, buddy, can you stop talking about wagging the dog, please, buddy? Thanks, everyone. You guys are awesome. We'll be back in just a little bit. Everyone out there, he's Sigmund. I'm Cecil. We are the Audible. Thanks to Dr. Jene Bramel as well, because he's awesome. Everyone, stay tuned and stay frosty.